Welcome to the Chamber. Today we are here to interview Mr. Wes Williams. He's the owner of Burger I Am. We're here at his establishment, which was vandalized during the George Floyd protests. He managed to turn that one negative incident into a waterfall and cascade of positivity. So let's see how forgiveness played a role. Today we're here at Burger I Am with Mr. Wes Williams. And I just want to go back to that weekend of May 29th and why we're here. I saw a headline in the paper that said, "I can't be mad."
Correct.
And that was in response to what? Take us back to that day.
So that was in response to my windows being vandalized due to the protests that took place that evening in regards to the uncalled for death of George Floyd. And so, like I said, that night, I took a small little setback for what it's worth. My two front windows had got busted out.
So you're notified that you've been vandalized.
Right. So how it all the night panned out. I closed down early, probably around 9 p.m. and I had left the restaurant and went and got something to eat. And then, I started getting word that the people are protesting downtown. And just, being my business, I went ahead and I came back to check on everything, make sure everything was good. And so that was probably around midnight and everything was fine. Like the West End was quiet, it was dead. It wasn't no traffic or anything going on down here. So then I left, went to my apartment because I stayed right in the area and actually came back at 2 a.m. Everything was fine. Everything was good, quiet. So I said, okay, well, the night is over for what it's worth. I went ahead and went back home. And I just so happened to check my phone at 3 a.m. And then that's when I got a text from a former employee. And he said, hey, your two front windows, I think they got you. You need to get down here. And so immediately after he texted me, the property management, they called and said the exact same thing. They said, hey, your front two windows been vandalized. You need to come down and check on your property. So I went ahead, jumped in the car, came on back down, and my front two windows had got
But
damaged.
your immediate reaction was, I guess since you might have been expecting it, but what was your immediate reaction when you're hearing that your two front windows have been vandalized?
For me, it's business. And sometimes business happens. And so if you understand the dynamics of a protest and how it shifts to a riot, and you understand the dynamics of our culture and the things that we've gone through, then this type of stuff doesn't rattle you. So we look at it from the cultural aspect and then we look at it from the business aspect. From the cultural aspect, when you don't listen to our cries, then we're forced in a position to make you listen to our cries. And we've seen this over and over. Me originally being from Detroit, we can go back to the riots in Detroit, and I think that was in '69, if I'm correct on the year. But when you're in a position to where, your cries and your wants and your desires in regards to, how you're treated and how your culture is treated and individuals that look like you, they go unheard, you're forced into a situation to where now I have to really get your attention. And sometimes these are the casualties of war. That happens, so I get that. I understand the dynamics of our culture and what we've been through. So that organic response, it was just, in my mind, I figured a lot of people would think the exact same way that I did. It is what it is. You know that this is a turning point that can happen when there's a protest. We've seen this over and over. Now, on the business aspect, yeah, that's business. That's a luxury tax when you do a certain level of business, when you do a certain quality level of business. And if a broken glass or maybe some pipes bursting, if that rattles you, then this isn't the world for you, because I'm a strong believer in regards to your net worth is your network. And so when you do good business and you have a great reputation and good energy, people start to speak on your name in circles that you're unaware of. And you get the reputation of being a solid individual, solidified as a businessman. And so when you get in a jam, you send out an SOS, people are like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna help him because I know his personality, I know his reputation, and that's essentially what happened that night. The glass was broke. I mean, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm tired, but I start sweeping up glass. I picked the phone up. I made a call, and the company that I called, they said, hey, we can be out there maybe in 2 hours. I said, all right, cool. He said, if we're running late, we'll let you know. So just kind of, be patient. I said, all right, cool. So I get off the phone. I'm still sweeping, and I had that picture taken of me, just kind of holding the box in the front, just saying, hey, if you see broken glass or worst case scenario, they don't make it out. And I just have to put the temporary wood up there. I'm still open tomorrow. Please come out, buy some burgers, have a drink, And that was just, letting the people know that, hey, I'm okay,
So let's fast forward to the feel-good part of the story. One of my favorite. So I'm reading this story, and we get to this warm and fuzzy moment. You decide, no matter what, I'm still open.
Yeah.
I'm going to persevere. I'm gonna keep going.
Right.
And you get here the next morning, and there is a line.
Yeah, it was a line
wrapped around the building.
It was
now,
a block party line. It was,
yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
You can't tell me that doesn't make you feel good.
It felt extremely good. I was humbled. And really the main thing, and like I tell a lot of people, sometimes, your words or your views on the situation or just what you think, sometimes it falls on deaf ears. And it's not that people don't want to listen, it's just, we all have things going on in our lives. And sometimes just your words don't resonate with individuals. But when I shot that post out and I went to sleep and I woke up and my phone was jumping off the dresser, it had been reshared. I think at that moment, within that couple hours, like 4,000 times.
Wow.
That was my first experience with something like that.
Oh, wow.
And so then I started real quick reading the comments, and people were like, yeah, he gets it. Like they read the post, they digested it, and it was like, this is a genuine response. Like, this isn't cookie cutter, this isn't, for clout or anything. Like, when I saw that, people were really gravitating towards that response, that was cool. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's like, your words actually do mean something. They actually do set a stone or set a place in people's hearts when you say something that's genuine. And so, of course, my manager hit me and she said, hey, you need to get down here quick. I get dressed, I come down. Yeah, it was a line down the block. It turned into a block party, and, really, it felt like the whole city came out and really just supported. And that was actually pretty cool because the ideology of really supporting black businesses and group dynamics and really circulating the dollar, like that was a snapshot of it, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I was humble.
And I was telling you earlier, like, I didn't know if you were aware of this, but there were so many other positive movements and events that came from that one, isolated incident. There was a young man, Mr. Moon, who launched his...
Shout out to Ezel.
Yeah, Ezel Moon. He launched his YouTube channel because he got an interview with a special guest who came to see you that day.
So that day in the line, Mr. Mark Cuban was hanging out. And I mean, literally, he was hanging out. He was in line just chit-chatting with people, and he wanted a turkey burger, So at first when it was brought to my attention that he was out there, it registered, but it didn't register. I was like, Mark, really? And so then the gentleman was like, hey, yeah, check outside. And I looked, and yeah, there's Mark standing in line, wanting some food. So that was actually pretty cool. And I went and talked to him, real nice guy. He came inside, ordered his food. He probably hung out for maybe about 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Even FaceTime with my mom.
Awesome.
What I'm saying? Like,
that's good stuff.
Yeah, it was just a good, feel-good day. Like, everybody was just, just hanging out and just supporting. So, yeah, that was a first for me.
And another positive movement, there were several Facebook groups and social media groups that were formed to support more black-owned businesses during that time.
Correct.
What advice do you have for young entrepreneurs from that experience, what you learned?
The advice that I would give, well, in general, when it comes to, kind of going after your dreams and starting a business, it's going to get to a point to where you're going to have to just jump out the window with the parachute in your hand and figure it out on a free fall, because a lot of times, we have, things that we want to do, we have ideas, and, it's fear. You've never done it before, so you kind of jinx yourself and you kind of pull your own self back. But, when it comes to money and when it comes to starting a business, you got to look at things a lot differently. And it's going to get to a point to where either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. So, don't jinx yourself. Just, once you get to that ledge, if you're solidified in, details of how you handle things and your morals and your values, and when it comes to business and being organized, jump. It's not that bad. I mean, it's a humbling
That's your
experience.
advice. It's just tell them to jump. Grab your parachute and jump.
Because like I said, after a while, you'll look up, because time does go fast. I mean, I'm coming up on my first year.
Oh, wow.
First year, or in the midst of all of this. And so you'll look back and it feels like it was a snapshot. Right? It feels like I literally signed the paperwork January 26, 2018 for the franchise. Mm-hmm. And here we are right now. That was 2 years ago.
Wow.
But that time, it goes quick. So you don't want it to be a case where you say, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. You look up, it's 4 years, and now you're looking back like, man, it's 4 years. I could have, So yeah, my advice to any entrepreneur, once you got, your ducks in order, at a certain point, you just got to jump. You got to do it.
And I want everyone to know, not only are you an entrepreneur, a business owner, but you are also a firefighter and
still
first
running buildings.
Yes, just worked last night.
Just got out of work.
We thank you for your time and coming out. So one last message: what can we as a community do to further support not just our first responders, but you also as a business owner? What can the community do to support more people like you?
Essentially, one, just spread the word, because like I said, the power of word of mouth, it was big for me, and just exercise the art of group economics, because a lot of times when it comes to Black businesses, there's so many hurdles that we jump before the key goes in the door and open, whether it's raising capital, whether it's dealing with good contractors, whether it's dealing with good realtors that's going to show you quality property. Like, there's so many hurdles, and when you really understand that and you see a business that gets open and it's sustaining for at least a year or two, like, you have to tip your hat to that, and by actually supporting them, I mean, you're aiding in the ideology of group economics, because like I said, our dollar needs to circulate at least 7 times within our circle before it goes out, and for a lot of us, this is how you start building generational wealth, outside of, if you have a family member or someone in your family that may have passed and had life insurance and they take care of, the generations under them, but when it comes to businesses, I mean, there's a step one, and this is how it starts. You start with one location, then that one turns into a few, and then you get a territory, and then from there, it grows and so forth. But yeah, I mean, word of mouth and just supporting Black businesses. I mean, honestly, it's simple. I don't know why sometimes it comes off as this big task or this big hurdle, but if you know a Black business, just support it.
That's awesome.
If you're hungry, and this spot over here may not be a Black business, and this one may be, and not saying that this one is bad or anything like that, but if you understand the history with this one, you know what I'm saying? So maybe you got to drive an extra mile. It's worth it, trust me, in the long run, in the cultural long run. So.
Well, that's great advice, and I can't be mad at that.
There it is.
Also, the only advice that I have for you now that we are, in-person friends as well as social media friends, I want to see you smile more.
Okay.
All right. And we thank you guys for tuning in to more of The Chamber. And just remember, one small, kind act can lead to so much more.
True. Facts.
Thank you so much for joining us at the Chamber Talk Show. We just finished talking with Wes Williams, who is the owner of Burger I Am, and we're talking about forgiveness. So ladies, let's talk.
Yes, let's talk. So this is one of my favorite interviews. Getting to talk to a business owner, talking about community, and just talking about one positive event that waterfalls into so much more positivity. And to me, that in essence is forgiveness.
This event actually reminds me of everything that happened this summer, of course. I think many of us were angry. All of us were angry. We had the George Floyd incident. We had several other incidents prior to that. Then COVID hit, And so you have all these people that are dealing with so many things. And so the essence of forgiveness is love. And so we know love conquers a multitude. So that interview, talking to him, really brought back some really powerful things to my memory. That is something that we need to really, really focus on.
Yes. One thing I gathered from it is forgiveness is for you. You know, forgiveness is not for the other person. So forgiveness is for you, meaning that you have to find it within yourself to be able to put everything that happened past you so you can move forward. So it won't be bottled in and you're upset and you're frustrated and it turns into bitterness. So if we can all start there with understanding that it starts with us, not what the other person does.
Absolutely.
And I didn't always get that lesson. It wasn't, I would say, probably later in my late 20s where I actually grasped that forgiveness is for you. I harbored a lot of anger after losing my dad. I was angry at God. I was angry at my circumstances that I was in. And the first thing that I had to do was forgive myself and let all of that go, because the only person that was holding back was me. So can you share some lessons on forgiveness?
Well, I would say, let's get real for a second, because forgiveness is hard. I mean, because I know I've been done wrong. People, you know, we've all had different situations where people
A
just
crazy
gotten
ex
under
or two, yes.
Exactly. So it's like, how do we move past that, especially when we know it's for ourselves to let go and to release that. But it is difficult to do.
Oh no, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I think it's one of the hardest yet most rewarding things you could ever do for yourself.
Yeah.
Because holding on to that negativity only breeds more negativity. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Like that one small positive thing that you can take from tragedy, that you can take from being wrong, it just waterfalls, it just cascades into more positivity. So, but it's by no means easy, but still one of the most rewarding things that you can do for your own mental health and your own peace of mind.
And it comes from maturity. In fact, let's look at the questions. I know one of my followers sent a question when we did a poll, and the poll was actually, it talked about forgiveness.
What's your question?
Okay. So my question was, explain how you forgive a person that ultimately betrays you. It's extremely difficult, especially when you have covenant, you've been married, you know, I'm divorced. So it speaks volumes, but it's a daily walk. You have to continue to work on it until you feel that sense of healing. Because betrayal is, you know, it causes a lot of anger and it causes a lot of resentment. And then you also kind of see why people, you know, why they break, why they, you know, do things that, you know, go against the grain. And so again, it's a daily walk. For this person who asked me this question, his name was John. And so I would assume obviously that someone close to him, maybe it was a girlfriend or, you know, one of his spouses. But again, it's something that you have to just continually work on and focus on. So, and I would say even possibly get a therapist. Therapy is
possibly. Therapy works.
Therapy, yeah,
Right.
yeah. I've had a therapist before on several occasions. So that's one of the biggest things. Daily work, and then possibly therapy. Okay.
Well, my question is from Michael. It says, is it truly forgiveness if you are still angry with the person?
Good question.
Well, my take on that is, once again, forgiveness is for you, but you have to put things in perspective when you're dealing with people, because everybody is different and everyone has different personalities. So we look at, you know, how we were brought up, our backgrounds, our environment, and some people aren't capable of certain things based on their upbringings. You know, so if you understand that early on, that maybe this person, whoever has wronged me, they're not in the mind frame, because everybody can change and people can learn how to overcome things that they've went through. But if that's someone who may have struggled in the past with a lot of different issues, let me meet them where they are. as a person.
I like that.
So if I can meet them where they are, then I can't hold how they are and their upbringing and what happened to them against them. I have to forgive for me.
I love that. So it goes back to growth, and it's a daily walk. You know, it's a constant working on yourself and speaking to yourself. Positive affirmations, like you talked about earlier.
Yes.
Well, let's see what Melissa has to say. So, how do you forgive a family member who has sexually violated you? Yeah, that's a tough one. But being a psychologist, I deal with sexual trauma a lot. Unfortunately, it is really common. And it is so traumatic to our soul that it is something that I would definitely recommend getting a therapist to help you walk through that journey, because it is something that you have to really acknowledge the emotion, acknowledge the trauma, the hurt, and be able to release that in a way and work through the process of that with someone, with a professional person, because there's so many layers to it, and there's a lot of shame and guilt around being sexually violated. So it is a process. It is possible to forgive, but just know that that can be a very long journey.
Wow. So I'm going to take the last question from Charles, and it says, how do we cope with and forgive a society that's gunning down black men and black boys? And this touches home as a mother. Again, it goes back to what you said. It's not easy, but it's still one of the hardest and most rewarding things that you might do, because it's for you. It's not for the other person that you might feel is persecuting you. It's for you. And you have to do it, because that's a weight that can hold you back. When I tell the young people that I'm mentoring, my goal when I started this journey was never to be the best black doctor. I wanted to be the best doctor that I could be for all of my patients, no matter what they looked like. But I do get a joy in taking care of people that look like me. So I also tell people, I don't want you to be a good black person. I want you to be a good person. I want you to be the best person that you can be, and you can't be that person holding on to negativity that you're not responsible for. I'm not responsible for racism. I may be a victim of it, but I'm not responsible for it. So I don't have to carry around that weight. So that's the only advice that I have in these very, very trying times, is be the best you that you can be for others and for yourself.
And sometimes unburdening yourself is a daily process.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a minute by minute process of just letting go when you are constantly having microaggressions come at you, and just dealing with society and just dealing with our long history of racial trauma and everything that we've had to deal with. So it is just something that you have to keep at the front of mind, and really just give yourself compassion, and also knowing that you're not in this alone, and we can do this. We can do this together.
And you were talking about affirmations. She just reminded me of mine. So my daily affirmation when I wake up is give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. You grant grace. We ask for grace from God. We grant grace to other people, but give yourself grace. Give yourself enough room to be slightly flawed. Give yourself grace.
I love that. And what Tamara said earlier today, breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe.
Always got to breathe.
I love it. I love it.
It's life-giving.
I think this is a good place to close it out. We want to thank Mr. Wes Williams for being our guest here on the Chamber. We want to thank these wonderful doctors for sharing their stories, their advice, and their wisdom. Tune in next time to the Chamber.
What Wes showed us today in his interview is that forgiveness is for you, not the other person. So as long as you maintain who you are as a person and stay positive, you will always have someone to come to your rescue, like he did in his case, with helping recovering the damage from his building. Thank you again for tuning in to the Chamber.
Love is patient, love is kind. Love protects, love hopes, love trusts, love preserves until the end of time. Love never fails, love never falls. Love is victorious, love conquers all. Where love is, there's forgiving and forgetting, honoring and respecting, mending and molding, uplifting and upholding. Where love is, temptation is passing. Where love is everlasting. Everlasting love, love lasting forever. Never giving up on love, because love will keep us together. In our hearts, love will forever stay. Love cannot be faded or washed away. Love is eternity, indefinitely living in you and me. Love is not easily broken. Love is bold and clear to see. Yet love is blind, not discriminating. Love teaches us to love all our enemies. Love covers all wrongs. It's the defeat to hate. For God is love, and love is great. Greater is he that is in me. That's love, the greatest of them all. The first fruit of the Spirit to be called. Love is the fulfillment of the laws, perfectly polished with no flaws. Love does not lie, steal, or cheat. Yet love is filled with trust, giving, and honesty. Love is sincere. Love does not harm. Love is real, unlike its pretense charm. Bear with one another in love. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Husband, love your wives. Wives, love your husbands, coveting no one else. There's no greater love than he who laid down his life for a friend. And what a friend we have in Jesus. A friend who loves all the time, now until the end. That's love. Love is.